Hey guys, it's Tyler Wood from Coldwell Banker up here in Big Bear Lake, and wanted to chat about a question that some people ask, and that is, do I save more money, or am I better off, being represented by the listing agent on a property? And the listing agent would be the one who has the property listed and is representing the seller. So that's the question you hear a lot from buyers. Can I save money by going with the listing agent? So I guess the thought on their part is, well, if the listing agent represents me, then they can cut the commission. That's one of the thoughts. They can cut their commission because they're representing both parties, and that's one thought. That doesn't always happen. Some agents, some brokers, when they list a property, they'll build in a provision that says if they sell it, that they're going to cut the commission by a certain percentage. That's a benefit to the seller and the buyer, in that it'll save each some money. So that doesn't always happen, though. Sometimes it's a full commission. If the listing agent is representing the buyer, they're still doing all the work. There's still work involved. There's still liability involved, and I don't think a lot of people understand that part. Whenever an agent does a deal or a broker does a deal, there's liability. And there's liability on their part. If something screws up, something happens, they're the ones on the hook for it typically, and they're taking on that responsibility when they take on representation of a buyer or a seller. So even though they may be representing both parties, they also have double the liability now. So and that's part of the reason why they're getting paid. That's something that a lot of people need to keep in mind. Buyers and sellers need to keep in mind when agents represent both parties. That's a thought. The other thought would be, if you're a buyer and you work with the listing agent, sometimes they think, well, the listing agent is going to know the property better. They're going to have better communication with the seller. Whenever you have less people involved, the communication is typically better. It's typically easier, and it's typically more reliable. Whenever you have more people involved, the communication can get a little wacky, a little screwy. So that'd be another reason that a buyer might want to work with the listing agent. So those are two reasons. Some of the reasons why they probably wouldn't is going to be representation. Who has your interest in mind? When the listing agent is representing the seller, their first interest is to the seller. Their fiduciary duties to the seller to get the seller, top dollar in the quickest amount of time and the least amount of inconvenience. That's their duty to the seller. So if you're working with the listing agent, you got to keep in mind that the listing agent is going to be looking out for the seller first. Obviously, they're going to have to represent you and do the job of an agent, paperwork and so forth, but their responsibility is to the seller. So as a buyer, you may want to consider getting your own agent. Getting your own agent that's going to be out looking for your interest. It's representing you only. That's just a thought. That's the other side of the coin. It just depends on what's most important to you. Can you save a little money by going with the listing agent? Maybe. Can you maybe have better communication, maybe an easier transaction by going through the listing agent? Possibly. Are your interests going to be looked out for? Maybe not. Maybe not as much as if you went with the buyer's agent. So those are just some thoughts I had on it. If you have any questions on that, feel free to reach me, 909-866-3481. It's Tyler Wood from Coldwell Banker. You can also email me at whowood@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Have a good week.